I do.
Hello everyone, it's Dennis here from Northwest Outdoor Lifestyle, and I'm here with Nancy Ballin, who is, she's got kind of a special, unique event going on that could just save your life, or the life of someone you love. And I'm going to let Nancy tell you a little more about it.
Thanks, Dennis. We are about to put on our 8th annual Family Jewels 5K. It is at St. Edward State Park in Kenmore, and it has two purposes. One is that we educate young men about testicular cancer, a very curable cancer that my young stepson died of when he was 20. And the other thing we do is, it is the main signature fundraiser for the Jameson Jones Memorial Scholarship. When Jameson died, he had two younger sisters who were 12 and 18, and he told us he wanted to leave his college savings to the girls. That inspired our other mission, which is that we provide scholarships to local kids who've had a sibling with cancer. We're currently supporting 3 students who graduated last year from high school. They're all in college, and our scholarship is renewable for all 4 years of college. So for those 3 families, we've made a $40,000 commitment. And I just was notified that we have 2 brand new applicants for this coming school year.
Okay, so you've got a 5K, you've got a cause that is, well, kind of near and dear to the hearts of most of us.
Mm-hmm.
What is this?
This is a nut hut. I like to call it the locally famous nut hut. The screen printing was done by my awesome sponsor, Northwest Printed Apparel. She and I worked together on the lettering. You can see the U's. If you look at our logo, it's supposed to be a subtle, but not too subtle, scrotum. And inside are the family jewels. And of course, there's 2 sets of family jewels that I'm concerned about. One set of family jewels is the set that Dennis has or may have part of, and all you young men and old men and babies, male babies have. And the other set of family jewels that we're concerned about are families' finances, their children, their crown jewels, and the money in the family. Because what happens is when you have a child with cancer, what you are not doing, or not being able to do successfully, is saving for college. So what the Nut Hut is it is a mobile self-check testicular cancer station, or a mobile testicular cancer self-check station. So what we have here is a tent. It is opaque, so when you're in there, nobody can see what you're doing. It is private. And inside, we have it at the 5K, and locally, or actually recently, it has started making appearances at other local venues. It was the star attraction at the Greater Bothell Chamber of Commerce meeting last Thursday, where the scholarship was the event scholar, and we had it set up inside the North Shore Senior Center to the great amusement of about 50 people. Inside the Nut Hut, there is a table that has inside, who I like to call Mr. Scrody. This is a medical grade model of a scrotum, and it has 2 masses in it. And what this teaches you to do is how to do the sort of rolling, squeezing check of your scrotum or the model scrotum, so you can find the masses in here and you know how to do a self-check. This is inside. This is a very important part. Also inside are these 2 posters. This poster tells you how to do a self-check, that it's better if you're warm. So another feature of the Nut Hut is a heater, because if you're not warm enough, the testicles disappear. I learned, as a person with only sisters, I learned when you're cold, you can't check your testicles because they're sucked up into the body. So this tells you how to do a self-check. We also have a small version of this in a shower card that are inside our pamphlets, so you can hang it in your shower, and then you can remember every month to do your self-check. The other poster contains some very important facts and details and risk factors about testicular cancer. It talks about the signs of early disease, the signs of advanced disease, the risk factors, one of the main ones of which is being born with an undescended testicle. That is a risk factor for testicular cancer. And also has the very important warning that if you find something that you know is different or that is wrong, and you people with testicles, you know what they're like on a normal basis, so if there's a change, my biggest message to you, my most important takeaway is if there's a change in one of your testicles, don't wait. Jameson waited a year with active symptoms, but was too embarrassed to tell us about them, which is why he was diagnosed so late, and is why he eventually died. So what this tells you is if you find something that isn't right, to go see a urologist right away. Insist on an ultrasound, get it checked out. And below that is our website, because if you want more information, we can get it to you. So that is the Nut Hut. It is posters, information, Mr. Scrody. Oh, and also, just as important, and the last thing in there, is I have a stack of business cards of a local urologist oncologist. Because if someone is in there, either a man is in there or a young man, or his mother, or his partner, or his wife, who knows that he's having some symptoms, there's a stack of business cards so they're not left with no resource when they realize they really need to go to the doctor. There's a local urologist who does very good education with all of his patients about testicular cancer, and so you can walk away with a resource and have someone to call on your next business day.
So you probably noticed that I'm smiling a little bit about this, and I think we're all just a little bit uncomfortable talking about this, and yet at the same time, this is deadly serious.
Yes, and this is the biggest problem with testicular cancer. It's a young men's disease typically. If you are a male between 15 and 44, and you get cancer, it is most likely to be this type of cancer. And most of the people anywhere that I've ever known of don't know that. Here's why it's a perfect storm of bad factors, it being a young men's cancer. Young men are invincible, as they'll tell you.
They're bulletproof.
Yes, they're bulletproof, they're invincible, bad stuff doesn't happen to them.
Right.
Number two, they don't want to go to the doctor under any circumstances most of the time.
Old men either, for that
Yes. Even doctors
Yeah.
will wait, even when they know there's something wrong.
Right.
And third, it's embarrassing. And that perfect storm of bad factors is what caused our son to wait until he actually couldn't bear it anymore and was writhing around on the floor. He was diagnosed at 14, was able to get into remission after horrible treatment late that year. Then he went through high school in remission. And what he said to a young friend of his while he was in remission in high school, and I've quoted this probably 1,000 times by now, he said, "It just kept getting bigger and bigger, but I was too embarrassed to tell my mom." So my boy died of embarrassment. Plain and simple. There's so many tragic parts of this story. Another part of the tragedy of this is that Jameson was born in 1990. The disease was cured 13 years before that, but not when you wait until you're stage 4. Before 1977, it was a death sentence. 5% curable, 95% fatal. Dr. Larry Einhorn in Indianapolis invented the chemotherapy that caused that to flip. Now it's 95% curable.
Wow, that's
when
amazing.
caught early. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So those are really good statistics, but not if you wait till you're stage 4, poor prognosis.
So detection is absolutely essential.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't talk about prevention. We don't know what causes it. We know some risk factors, some correlations. We don't know what causes it, but we do know that early detection is the key to living with this.
Okay. So knowing that that young men typically aren't going to want to have this conversation, or men in general.
Yes.
Who do you think should be helping them with making the decision to go see a doctor?
It should be anybody that they will listen to.
Okay.
When I will collar a young man anywhere I am, and I will give them my 30-second lecture about testicles, which is that they shouldn't hurt, they should not have lumps or bumps, and they shouldn't be radically different sizes. And after I talk to them and I watch the eyes start to glaze over, then I say, okay, if you remember nothing else from this very strange conversation you weren't expecting to have, remember this. If there's a change in your testicles, don't wait. And what you need to do is you need to tell somebody who's going to drag you to the doctor. This is why I educate parents. This is why when I see people wheeling a baby boy in a stroller, I ask them, can I spend 30 seconds with you that might help you save your child's life? This should be covered in health classes, in junior high and high school. I know for a fact that Jameson's health class did not cover it, and the reason I know that is I asked a friend of his, and his friend said, well, it was on the syllabus, but they knew it was really embarrassing, so they just kind of glossed over it. Yes.
Yeah. So we talk about reproductive health, but we don't actually talk about things that will save your lives.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Another important way station is sports physicals. Jameson has sports physicals 7 months before his diagnosis, and a testicle check was not done. I don't know why. I don't know what happened, what conversation happened in that room, but we lost 7 months of diagnosis and treatment time, and I'm convinced we lost probably a stage.
Yeah.
So that was a big fail. Another big fail is that Jameson was a cross-country runner starting at least as early as 9th grade. The coaches should be talking about it in their health talks.
Right.
Teachers should be talking about it in health class. Parents should be talking about it. You teach good touch and bad touch. You teach bullying. You
Right.
teach what's your perimeter of personal space and what's beyond that. You teach that if you fall down and your elbow really hurts, then it might be broken and you need to tell me so I can take you to the doctor.
Right.
The same sort of education should happen not just about sexual matters and dating matters, and and consent. Those are all really important conversations.
Absolutely.
But it also should be had about the genitals' physical health, just like the rest of your body's physical health, and mental health, for that matter. It should be taught as a normal part of parenting. I know of a young man who is now 6. By the time he was talking, his mom, who was a good friend of Jameson's back when they were in junior high, this wasn't going to happen to her again. She gave birth to a son. This wasn't going to happen to her. So it's a normal part of their birth. It's a normal part of their bath time. So I actually have a postcard that explains how to do a self-check, and this young man named Tristan is quoted because he and his mom came up with a poem, a little saying, so that he could remember. And he was 4. So if Tristan could be doing this by age 4, anybody can do it. And his little poem is, no lumps, no bumps, no pain, the same. Voila.
Perfect.
It is a normal part of his bathing for her to look at them and make sure they look normal, and for him to check them himself, because he's down there all the time too. He's 6.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
he now knows that if something's different about them, or if they hurt, it's a serious matter that he needs to talk to his mom or his dad about. So education along with everything else. There's also those embarrassing conversations you have in the car with your tween or your teen, where they're a captive audience, and you've got that 20 minutes on the way to practice, and you say, hey, let's talk about something I want you to know about. And he can't get out. He's captive. So that's another good time. Or family meetings, or conversations about sex, or a first girlfriend or boyfriend. The other important population here is to talk to not only the boys and the men, but the women and the girls. Not only the moms, but just like breast cancer, half of the cases are found by a partner.
Right.
So at the 5K, I talk to the women and the girls as well, and I say, speaking to the wives and the partners and the girlfriends, and I say, so ladies, while you're down there, give them a squeeze, give them a look, and every single person laughs, but when they go home, they don't forget that.
Right.
What's also the case is that, and I've heard this from real men who have had testicular cancer, is that the female in their life is most likely to be the one who drags them to the doctor.
Absolutely.
And I know of multiple men who have said to me, yeah, my wife kept listening to me complain and she made me go. And if she hadn't made me go, I would have kept waiting.
Yeah.
And he may have died because of that. So she saved his life.
So what should folks know about the 5K?
What folks should know about the 5K is that it is every March in St. Edward State Park in Kenmore, which was Jameson's favorite place to run. He was a cross-country runner himself. That's what inspired the 5K. We had our first one shortly after he died, and it's grown into a signature event. So what you need to know is that you don't need to be a runner. We have a 5K. It is on trails. It is laid by Jameson's cross-country coach. It is not all the way down to the water and all the way back up. It's not that steep trail you're worried about. It's a flat high school cross-country course. You can do a 5K trail run. We have professional timers if you care about your time, and the first 20 or 30 people always do. We have a professional timing company. If you're not a runner but you're a walker, we have a 1-mile trail walk. It's not timed, but you get a bib. And if you're not a runner or a walker, or you're rehabbing, or you didn't go to bed till late the night before, we have a 0K sit and eat pie. So you don't even have to get off your chair to register for the 5K and come and support us. Pie. You want to hear about the pie
I want to
aspect?
hear about the pie. That's the key. So come on, people. Pie.
So pie. You don't know how many people, when I say there's pie, say, oh, wait, there's going to be pie? All right, I'll come. So come for the pie. I don't care why you come. The pie aspect is because Jameson's birthday is March 14th. And for the nerds and geeks among you, or mathematicians or high school teachers, you know that mathematical pi, PI, is 3.14.
Right.
So what I learned when I acquired a young son with a Pi Day birthday is that is a thing.
That's
there
a
are
thing.
shirts, there are
Yep.
parties, I'm sure there are runs, there are Pi Day runs, I'm sure there are.
You bet.
So I have incorporated pie into the 5K because, A, that's one of the ways I fattened up Jameson when he was getting ready for high-dose chemo when he recurred when he was 19. But more important, pie was a thing of his. He loved blackberry pie, which is why we always have berry pie at the run. And in fact, every single person who registers gets their own personal pie. So you walk away with your own pie, and we also are the hashtag only 5K with a pie table. When you get here and you see these big cement picnic tables, one of them is covered with pieces of pie. Sit down, eat pie, have some coffee, have some hot chocolate, throw some money in the donation jar. That would be awesome. It's a way that Jameson's presence is really near to me when we do the 5K, and it attracts people here because look at my demographic. It's 15 to 44. They like pie. And cross-country runners, they need to eat. And I also understand that cross-country runners can be the same population as mountain bikers.
So now,
So they like to eat pie as well.
speaking of that demographic,
Mm-hmm.
isn't there a significant celebrity who also has suffered with, in fact, he actually survived testicular cancer, wasn't there? Isn't that Lance Armstrong?
Yes, yes. In fact, Lance Armstrong was one of Jameson's heroes when Jameson was still alive. Yes, and in fact, what we owe to Lance Armstrong is that when Jameson was first diagnosed, we, as his family, did some research about something very important that we learned about cancer, which is when you get cancer, you want to be treated where they treat your cancer, your type of cancer. And Seattle is an awesome place to get treated for lots of things. Children, and Jameson was a pediatric patient. Children's Hospital is great with brain cancer, leukemia, Ewing sarcoma, children's cancers. This is not a children's cancer. It's an adult's cancer. The epicenter of treatment for testicular cancer is Indianapolis, Indiana. That's where Lance Armstrong treated. That's where we brought Jameson. He had all his consultations there. He had all of his first surgeries, starting at the groin, going all the way up to his neck. And they are the ones who quarterbacked his chemo. So Lance was very important for that because he was such a public figure and we knew what type of cancer he had. We found out where he treated, and we treated with the same doctors. There also are some awesome doctors in Seattle that follow testicular cancer patients, one of whom golfs with one of my sponsors. I'm looking forward to having lunch with him. Indianapolis is not the only place, but it's where we went. Jameson was diagnosed in 2005. It was a long time ago, and Lance's bout was soon enough before that that we knew where to look. There also is. I used Jameson recently in a presentation I gave to 24 Boy Scouts between 12 and 17, which was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Another great place to educate is scouting.
Sure.
Scouting groups, service groups, church groups. I've offered to go out to youth groups. I will go anywhere. I'm going to be going out to WSU in a few months because they're going to do something with the Greek system.
Awesome. Yeah. It happens.
That
it's okay.
out.
So I think we've got the 5K. We've got pie.
Yes.
We have a life-saving message.
Yes.
I think the last thing we probably need to say is, what would be the next to last thing is, first of all, let's repeat the dates.
March 10, St. Edward's Day Park in Kenmore. It's
Time?
Yes, and the start gun goes off at 9. Online registration is open now until noon the day before, and you can register going to our website, which is easy. It's Family Jewels, FamilyJewels.education, and you'll see 3 different buttons that say I want to register or sign me up. Click on that button, you can sign right up that way. So online until noon the day before. You also can walk up that day and sign up. We'll be right here with people ready to register you.
And pie.
And pie. There will be pie. You can get here as early as 7:30 in the morning on Saturday, March 10th, and we'll be ready to sign you up and register you or check you in when you get here.
Fantastic. So, one last message. I'm sure you want to say this. Check your nads, lads. Come on down.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
Check your nads. Thanks so much, Dennis. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
Well, tonight we have something a little bit different scheduled than what we normally have. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's your boy Romeo. And before I get started, I guess I should probably provide a little bit of context and a little bit of backstory just to kind of keep everybody up to date with what's going on. So, as my stream says, tonight we're going to talk about balls, specifically testicles, and for the awareness of testicular cancer. A few years ago, I had a friend whom I met playing Xbox with. His name was Connor Crisp, and he ended up becoming one of my closest friends without ever meeting him in real life. He was diagnosed with testicular cancer, and long story short, he passed away. He was relatively young. I didn't realize how young he was, so we got closer. I think I had him by just over 10 years, and but it didn't matter because he was a pretty genuine and great person on his own. Hey, thanks Blabber Monkey for the follow. He was a good guy, and it didn't matter that I didn't get to meet him in person. We became very close because of gaming. We would play Overwatch together all the time with our little fire team that he essentially brought together. And when he passed away, I kind of felt it in the game with the games we used to play. I stopped playing. We used to play Overwatch all the time. As a matter of fact, I think I got this shirt I'm wearing from from someone in our fire team. I think it says Lucio's. If you know, you know. He was easily one of the coolest people I ever met without ever meeting, and it's just like how that video talked. The lady in the video, we're gonna be talking to her tonight for a little bit. We're gonna get some more insight on what her foundation is. She runs the Family Jewels Foundation, and she started it because she herself had lost her own son to testicular cancer. We'll get more on that later. The reason why I'm doing this tonight is because a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, I can't remember, I caught a interview with my friend's father on a podcast, and it was the first time I had actually heard in detail what happened. And it's like Nancy said in the video, there is a stigma of young men and their sexual organs, and if there's anything wrong with that area, young men tend to kind of climb up. And that's kind of what happened with Connor a little bit. That was my friend who passed away. We'll call him Crispy from here on out, as his call sign was on Xbox. Excuse me, his gamer tag. And I didn't know he had testicular cancer until it was too late. It was something that kind of caught a lot of us by surprise, especially when we found out that he passed away. And so when I found out that his father had this interview, I decided to catch it. And it was the first time I got to hear his side of what happened. Because, you know, after Crispy passed away, the fire team kind of disbanded. And I had no way to... I mean, his father had the courtesy to call me and let me know what happened, and after that we just kind of, you know, let time happen as time does. So I caught the stream, and I was so moved by how his father was. You know, I can't imagine, you know, me being a dad losing my daughter to something easily preventable if it was something that she could have just talked about. And it just sucks because after learning all I have in the last 2 weeks about testicular cancer and how preventable it is and how easily it could have been mitigated, it hurt me more, especially listening to that interview. I reached out to Crispy's father and I asked him for permission to share the interview on one of my streams. I don't know if some of you caught that or not. And on my stream, I was trying to like be more positive about it. I hadn't realized I wasn't ready to talk about it either, because it was the first time I was also recalling my memories with Crispy. So I kind of cut that stream a little short. I showed the interview that they had, but I felt like I had cheated Crispy out of like a proper remembrance, a proper honoring. Tonight is dedicated to Connor Crisp. I am hosting this interview and this charity stream in his name. We're gonna talk with Nancy here a little bit, and she's gonna educate, inform, and hopefully I'm not expecting this to become a big stream. I'm not expecting to collect a lot of donations, but anything that gets donated tonight, I promise will go straight to the Family Jewels Foundation. Nancy, it's so good to have you here tonight. I'm so happy that we have this opportunity to talk. I just finished talking to my chat about my brush with testicular cancer with my dear friend who passed away, Connor Crisp, and I was wondering if it's okay with you, if you would be so kind to just share your story with about Jameson.
Sure. Let's see. 2005. Actually, let's go before 2005. 2004. Jameson was in the 8th grade and started cross-country running, and so the family would go to his meets, because he was 6'1", 130, so of course he was a cross-country runner because we didn't have rowing then, and he would run the meets, and he was a distance runner, so 1 mile, 2 mile, whatever those are in metric. And all of us, we have a bit of a mixed family, blended family, there it is. And all of us parents saw him double over at finish lines. We all saw it at least once. And what we assumed is that he wasn't wearing tight enough support shorts under his running shorts and that his testicles were bouncing, which is bad for testicles. It causes a thing called torsion. And so we kept telling his father, will you talk to Jameson about wearing better training shorts? So January 15, 2005, it's the winter, obviously. He is supposed to be, it's a Saturday. He's supposed to be going to go for ski lessons, 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. His mother goes down to get him ready for the ski bus. And instead of being ready for the ski bus, he's writhing around the living room floor because the pain from his testicles is so great that he literally cannot stand up. By the time I got myself to the hospital to meet them, he was being diagnosed with testicular cancer. And in fact, he was diagnosed with stage 4. Now it's called 3C, but at the time, stage 4, late stage, poor prognosis, testicular cancer. What those two phrases mean, late stage means we didn't catch it early, we caught it late after it had metastasized. Poor prognosis means the likelihood of his survival is poor. Because, as we eventually learned, it had metastasized all the way up to here. His top scar reached to just under his left ear.
Wow.
So that is how we started on our journey of testicular cancer, January 5th, 2005. January 15th, 2005. And he was 14 and in 9th grade. He had symptoms for upwards of a year, hence late stage poor prognosis. If he had told us, well, as I mentioned, we have to cop to what's true. We knew that he was having pain. We didn't know about the swelling because he was 14. Nobody was seeing him in our family. One of the lingering mysteries for me is he was a runner. Did none of his teammates see him in the locker room? See how huge his testicle had gotten? Did he not complain about it to anyone else? We don't know these things. But what we did eventually find out is that he had symptoms for upwards of a year. So starting around age 13, diagnosed at 14, 2 months before his 15th birthday is when he was diagnosed.
Wow. So the more because I took some time to do a little bit of independent research because can't go into an interview unprepared. It really is very preventable if not for the stigma of what sexual organs are to young
Yes.
people. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I find that at least myself working in the medical field, you're not wrong. Men are very it mainly comes in men. Men become very apprehensive about anything wrong with them, especially with their penis or groin area. I was just wondering what finally. I know you said he was in severe pain. I know you said he just couldn't handle it anymore, but what finally gave him the all right, I can't handle it anymore? Was it the pain? Was it how uncomfortable it looked?
He couldn't get off the floor. He literally could not get up off the floor. And his mother came downstairs to get him ready at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday in January, and he's writhing around on the living room floor. And she's like, "What's the matter with you?" And I was sick in bed, so I did not come downstairs for this. This conversation was repeated to me. And he obviously said something about the fact that his testicles hurt. And she said, "Well, let me see it." And he said, "No." And she said, "Let me see it." And apparently it was, like the size of a tennis ball or a softball. It was like this big.
Which I'm sure, chat, majority of you guys are males. You guys are more than aware that your testicles aren't supposed to be bigger than your fist.
No, and in fact, there's lots of things I can tell you that I've said a million times. And one of what I have is what I call a 30-second lecture about testicular cancer. And here it is. Testicles should not hurt. They should not have lumps or bumps. They're not like breast tissue. For you ladies in the audience, some of you may have been told, if you're old enough to have had a mammogram, that, you've got lumpy breast tissue. Very common, very dense, harder to see through. So it's risky. Your mammogram's going to hurt more because they're going to squish it more. Not so with testicles. They should not have lumps or bumps. And so shouldn't hurt, shouldn't have lumps or bumps. And lastly, they shouldn't be drastically different sizes. It's not uncommon for them to be slightly different sizes, but not drastically different sizes. And if one of the sizes changes dramatically, you need to go get seen. And let me show you what I call my trifold, because that's what my printer called it. Here it is. So is that backwards? Is that a mirror image?
That's what I'm trying to check right now on my other monitor.
Because if it is, I can tell you what it says.
It looks fine on my end. Chat, if
Good.
anyone has any issues, let me know, and I'm sure we can work it out. It's good. Hey, everyone's saying it's good.
Okay, good. And what it says is, and it just kept getting bigger for anybody who can't see this or doesn't read English. It just kept getting bigger and bigger, but I was too embarrassed to tell my mom. That's in quote marks, because Jameson was diagnosed in 9th grade, went into remission by the first semester of 10th grade, his freshman year. He was in remission all through high school. He was in remission for 4.5 years. He relapsed at the end, or we found out that he had relapsed at the end of his freshman year of college, and he died a year and a half later. Now, during those 4 years of high school, while he was in remission, obviously he talked about his experience. He had scars all the way from his groin up to his neck. He called them his ninja scars. They were red and angry and huge, and he was proud of them. It showed that he had survived. During high school, he had a conversation with one of his good friends, and the friend's girlfriend happened to be there. She told me about this years later, years after Jameson died. And she told me that while the three of them were sitting around talking about Jameson's balls, he said this thing about his left testicle. It just kept getting bigger and bigger, but I was too embarrassed to tell my mom. And since I heard that story several years after Jameson died, he died in 2010, October 7th of 2010. We just had his 10th anniversary. Since I heard that quote, I have felt legitimate in saying that Jameson died of embarrassment. Because now you use the word preventable. What I want to make sure is clear to your audience is that the cancer is not preventable. This is not like some melanomas that you can get from letting yourself get sunburn over and over and over. It's not like that. You can't prevent testicular cancer. What you can prevent is dying from it. Testicular cancer is 95% curable when caught early. Having a year of symptoms and being diagnosed stage 4 with tumors up to your neck, that's not early, which means it's not 95% curable anymore. It also is, what I'll tell you, so guys, so you're a guy and you're in the medical field, so you already know this. What I have said about testicular cancer for all these years is it is the perfect storm of bad factors. It is a cancer that mostly afflicts younger men, younger males, younger people born with testicles. And so a note here for our transgender listeners, if you are a trans female and ever had testicles, which in my understanding you did when you were born, you have just as much risk of testicular cancer as if you had never, I'm sorry, I've lost my verb, transitioned. So
Wow.
I try not to say males and I try not to say guys all the time. I don't want to leave out a group that's important to consider. So what I say is people with testicles. If you ever had a testicle, this applies to you.
Nancy,
So
I appreciate the context and how you're using that, because I do have people in the audience who do identify one way or the other.
Good.
And it's very, thank you so much also for correcting on the statement, because
Sure.
it's such, you're not incorrect with what you said, and I apologize for my improper terminology, but
oh, don't.
it's one of those things that when I read it, it just stuck into my head, 95%, and
Curable.
that number,
95 to 98. Yes.
and that number,
Yes.
when I read that number, I couldn't believe it, because when I met Connor, well, digitally met him because I never got to meet him in person. I believe he had already beaten it once. I can't remember if he had already beaten it once at that time. But what I do remember is even after that, we like our fire team didn't know until it was too late. You know, maybe like, and it just came kind of like, and because my career choices, I don't understand the stigma of not being honest about stuff like that. And the more I read about the 95% cure rate, I was like, no way. Like, this seems impossible that it's such a, it also is so many young men that just let it go.
Well, let me explain it to you. So that's what I was about to tell you. what testicular cancer is it is a perfect storm of bad factors. It is a cancer that afflicts young people, generally between 15 and it is the number one cancer in males or in people with testicles between ages 15 and 44 in this country, between 15 and 35 globally. It is the number. So if you are going to get cancer, if you are a person with testicles and you are between 15 and 35, this is the cancer you're going to get most likely. Now, why is that a problem? That it's to use just a term that's easier just for this explanation, for young males, particularly, this is what they're known for. They don't want to go to the doctor. Young males feel invincible, I should say. Nothing bad's going to happen to me. If something bad happens to me, it's going to be fine. And they don't want to go to the doctor. So those three factors cause what I call a perfect storm of bad factors. And that's why, of the people that are eventually diagnosed with testicular cancer, half of them, 50%, are not diagnosed until after the cancer is metastasized. That's not 95% curable, and that's not early, because they have waited. And what they have done is they have waited for it to go away. And that's what Jameson did. I have talked to doctors, including urologists, who don't want to go to the doctor when something's the matter. I don't know what it is with you guys, but that's the reason that I also talk to wives and girlfriends and partners and parents when we're talking about younger people, but especially in thinking about partners. Because what do partners do? When you complain to your partner that something hurts or something isn't right, what is he or she going to do? This is the hope, is they're going to get sick of hearing about it, or they're just going to worry and they're going to say, you're going to the doctor, and they're going to take you. Mm-hmm. And I have had men tell me that if their wife had not forced them to go to the doctor, they'd be dead, because their plan was to just keep on waiting. And her plan was, no, you're going, and you're going tomorrow. And I know people whose lives have been saved because somebody else said, yes, you are going to the doctor. This is why when parents ask me, so I've got a son, when should I start teaching him about this? And I say, how old is he? It doesn't matter. But I say, how old is he? And they say 3. And I say, today. And what you do is you teach this in an age-appropriate manner when you're teaching other age-appropriate stuff. Are you teaching that child to bathe? Are you teaching that child that if something hurts, he should tell mommy or daddy so he can get checked out? Okay, this is no different. Then when he's 7, it's different. Then when he's 11 and 12 and 13 and you're having the puberty talks and then the sex talks, age-appropriate, teach it now. Teach it starting now. We should take care of our genitals the same way we take care of the rest of our bodies. And something about the prudishness of this country is costing people their lives. And I mean, you can tell how passionate I feel about this, because I still can't stand the fact that Jameson died of something that he didn't have to die of. He did not have to die.
And I think that's why this resonates so much with me, because I've worked in a medical field for a greater portion of my adult life, and I've seen stuff that just happens. It'll just happen. But this felt like something that a little bit more education, like what we're doing right now, just talking about it, I think is more than what was doing before, which was no talking at all. I want to address real quick. Someone in chat mentioned always an embarrassing doctor visit. And I understand going to talk to a stranger, no matter how professional they are in that field, could be uncomfortable. But even just a small mention could save your life if it's something like it. I know we're talking about specifically about testicular cancer today, but I want to just get rid of the stigma of just like, oh, I'm a tough guy, I can just tough it out. No, your body is your temple. Take care of your body. And Nancy, I want to segue real quick into Family Jewels Foundation. Okay. What is it? Who, what, where, why, when? How did you decide to get so, like, I can see you're passionate about it, which is why you started this, and you wouldn't have started unless you felt strongly about it. I want to know the path. Okay.
Let's see. The path is that, so continuing in our story and backing up one step, Jameson finished high school. He got into and started school at Washington State University. He was immediately recruited for the crew team because he was wearing his cross country sweats because same body type, same strength type. He got recruited for crew. He put on 30 pounds of muscle such that we actually didn't recognize him the first time we saw him when we went to a regatta. He had his back to us. He had gotten so much bigger from his small frame just from working out, because rowing is hard, that we didn't recognize our own kid. So and he loved it there, and WSU was wonderful. And then in May, we found out that he had relapsed, and we actually made a family decision not to tell him until after he had finished finals and finished going down to Sacramento for an important regatta, because why ruin his life any earlier than we had to? So we actually held the information back from him for 2 weeks so that he could take his finals and feel like he still had a regular life. And because his relapse was late, it was 4.5 years after his declaration of remission, we knew that it was very bad news. The later a relapse of testicular cancer is, the less likely you are going to survive it. And in fact, Jameson did not. He fought it valiantly and horribly for 1.5 years. Now, he never admitted out loud that we knew on December 31st of 2009 that he had reached the end of all of his treatment options and that he was going to die. And he was told by our oncologist, whom I love, go do what you want to do. And so I had my first inclination to fundraise on his behalf, because we had been planning on sending him to junior year abroad. And here, this is another relevant part of the story. I do tell long and verbose stories, but this is also relevant to your question.
Hey, feel
During
free.
high school,
This is your platform right now.
Okay. During high school, when he was a junior in high school, remember, this is his second year in remission. And we have had a child with cancer for the year before that. And what I knew already, is that when you have a child with cancer, what you are not doing is saving for college. You're actually not saving at all in a lot of cases. Middle-class family, both parents of the household had good jobs. He was on my insurance, which was excellent, government insurance, county insurance. And yet, when he started his second year of high school and they had a trip to Europe, we couldn't send him because we couldn't afford it. And so it was always our goal and our aim and our plan to send him to junior year abroad, like kids do in college, at least for a semester or a year. I don't know. We never got a chance to talk about it because we never got close to that. So when he was told that he was terminal on December 31st of 2009, he was given the option by his doctor, would you like all your parents to leave? So, I think I suggested, do you want us all to leave so you can talk to Dr. Hawkins privately? So he could have a conversation and not in front of all of his parents. And of course he said yes. And of course we all walked out, and I turned to all the other parents and I said, we have to send that boy to Europe, because it was obvious he was not going to live to junior year. And so I reached out to everybody I knew all over the country, and they reached out to who they knew. And this was before GoFundMe. This is before peer-to-peer fundraising. This is before all this stuff. It's 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to everyone and raised enough money to send him and his sister and his girlfriend and his cousin to Europe for long enough to hit 4 countries, while he was still well enough to be able to actually enjoy it. They went to Europe for 25 days. The only requirement being, A, you will take a camera and you will take thousands of pictures, because we knew this would be it for us to be able to photograph him. And B, you'll be back before Jameson's birthday, because we knew it would be his last. And so the 4 of them went to Europe. And we were able to send him, which was wonderful. They came home, I don't know, within a few days before his last birthday, his 20th birthday, March 14th of 2010, and he died that October 7th. So that's all to tell you, even though he understood what Dr. Hawkins was saying, and even though he knew that was his last birthday, he never admitted out loud that he was going to die. And what that meant was there were lots of conversations that he didn't get to have that I wish he could have had. At the time that Jameson was dying, he was 19. His younger sister was 17, and their younger sister was 12. And as I said, he had a passel of parents from blended families, and he had friends, and he had all sorts of people. And to my knowledge, he never had any conversations with any of them that a person would have while they were dying, except for one that his mother made him have because he was in hospice, and there were decisions that he had to make, and they're very important decisions, such as, where do you want to be buried? Well, he didn't want to be buried. We wouldn't have known that. What do you want done after you die? He wanted his body donated to science, so his body was donated to University of Washington Medical Center for
Wow.
research. We never would have known that. Well, one of the other questions was, what do you want done with your stuff? And he, of course, had college savings, as much as he had, and whatever he had been able to amass and we been able to provide. And this is key. What he wanted done with his college savings was that it be left to his two younger sisters to help with their college, because he knew not only is cancer emotionally devastating, childhood cancer especially, emotionally devastating for a family, but it is financially devastating. And he knew that Tara's college fund was barely started and Samantha's wasn't started at all. And so his money that should have gone towards paying for Washington State went to the girls. And that was the birth, before he died. That was the birth of the idea of what we wanted to do to honor him. We had this idea before he died, certainly by the time he died, because we spent a few weeks getting his celebration of life ready and his obituary. And we actually put a line in the obituary that we were going to be funding scholarships, not for kids with cancer, but for their siblings. Because kids with cancer, there are things for kids with cancer. There's Make-A-Wish, and there's American Cancer Society that can pay for hotels, and they have one scholarship for cancer kids themselves.
Mhm.
Nothing for their siblings. And here's what I'll tell you about siblings of kids with cancer, or siblings of sick kids anyway. Here's what their life is like. They get home, A, go Purell your hands and go wash them and don't touch anything. Your brother just came home from chemo. B, go do your homework. And C, here's what's for dinner, and now I got to go take care of your brother. That's what life is like for the well child. And then when that sick child dies, those siblings lose not only their brother, but their parents, because God forbid any of you in the audience have ever experienced this. Some of you may have lost a sibling, and I'm sorry for that. And you may have lost a child. I'm sorry for that too. If you have a loss like that, as I got used to saying, those people are gone. So those remaining surviving siblings have lost not only their brother, but their parents and their grandparents, because the people that are left are not the ones that they used to have. So those siblings really suffer. And so we wanted to focus on the siblings. And in fact, in the cancer literature, they're known as shadow survivors, because everybody thinks about the parents. And I'll tell you what the universal comment is when they find out we've lost a child. Oh, I couldn't even imagine. And no, you can't. But you also can't imagine what it's like to be the surviving child. So by the time Jameson died, by the time we published his obituary, we had opened a bank account called Jameson's Education Account, and we started collecting money to endow scholarships for siblings of kids with cancer. So he is the one who inspired our original mission and our ongoing mission, which was providing scholarships to kids who've had a sibling with cancer. Where we are now, we endowed our first scholarship at Washington State because they were wonderful to us while Jameson was alive and after he died. And so there is an endowed scholarship there. We now have our second scholar. Our first scholar we got right after we endowed the scholarship. So remember, Jameson died in 2010. I believe we started helping Justin in 2012. Justin, whose brother did die, by the way, when he was 9, after 6 months after diagnosis, Jedediah was gone. Justin is now a doctoral candidate in, I think it's Iowa. I always forget what state he's in the Midwest because I'm a bi-coastal snob. But he's in his second year of a doctoral program. He just got married. He's having his life, and I love watching it. He would not have gone to college without a scholarship. He only applied to WSU because his grandfather indoctrinated him as a Coug when he was born, and so he only applied to one school. And the school didn't give him as much financial aid as he needed to go to school. And then the president said, wait, we have this brand new scholarship I think you qualify for. Because of our scholarship, Justin Lusk went to college, graduated, got his master's, and now is a doctoral candidate.
Wow.
So that's because of Jameson. We now have another scholar at WSU. Once we were done at WSU, we came home back to the the west side of Washington where we live, near Seattle. And then we started amassing, raising monies for scholarships here. And we didn't have any applicants for a couple of years. And then one year we got 3. And we thought, oh, well, let's award to all 3. So we currently have 3 students who are, these are 4-year renewable scholarships, all of them. It's not a one-shot deal. It's for all your 4 years of college. We currently have 3 scholars who are finishing their 4th year of college. And what I was thrilled to say for 3 of those 4 years is, yeah, they each have a sibling with cancer. And the awesome news is all those siblings are in remission. They're all done with cancer. Yeah. Well, one of them relapsed. One of those siblings relapsed 19 months ago, and he just relapsed again. And his sister is finishing her. In fact, she just started student teaching. She's majored in special ed. She's home with her family right now because she's on spring break, and they are now going through childhood cancer for the 3rd time.
Wow.
She applied for 46 scholarships, I think. I can't remember. Because and here's another natural thing that happens when a child is diagnosed. What did her mom do when her brother was diagnosed again? She quit her job. Of course she did. So this is a 2-income family that now is a 1-income family. They have lost half of their income 3 times now. And they have 1 kid in college. And she was in college. She was in high school when he was diagnosed. So she was in the exact same position as Jameson's both younger sisters. Incomes decimated because of trying to fly their kid all over the country, just like we all do, to try to save him. So those 3 kids are finishing college now. They're in their last semester. And we now have a brand new scholar who just started this semester at University of Utah. So we've got him for another 3.5 years. And we hope to continue to do this for the foreseeable future.
Wow.
However,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Can I just tell you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I bring you right up to the present day?
Yes, please.
Okay, so as we all know, we're in a pandemic. And starting a year ago, what we have had over the years are very generous local sponsors, companies that have helped us year over year after year. We have fundraised almost exclusively through 2 events, in-person events. One was a 5K, the Family Jewels Pi K, it's called now. And we have a pub crawl, which of course we called a ball crawl. And that's how that was not my idea. I can't claim the title of that. One of my Chamber of Commerce friends said, you need to have a ball crawl. And I said, you're right. And now we have one. And then COVID hit, and A, you couldn't go out. B, everybody was closed. And C, all of the sponsors are barely making it. And we're a year in now. We still can't fundraise. We still can't have in-person events. And I can't go back to my sponsors anymore and ask them for money. So here's what COVID has done to us. We no longer have a physical presence outside in the world. We don't have a 5K anymore. We don't have a ball crawl anymore. We do still have scholars, and we plan on continuing to support them. So any money that we have coming in is going to be from events like this, or where people hear about us, payroll giving, people who work for Microsoft and Boeing and Expedia and tons of other companies. Those companies match donations of their employees. We get income that way. We also get income from employee giving programs. I told you I was a government employee for 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
Government, county and city and state governments tend to have employee giving programs where employees can opt to give part of their pre-tax wages to different nonprofits. That is now the major source of our income, is people's payroll giving, because we can't be out there in the world anymore fundraising.
Wow. Well, this is why I felt
that was a long answer to a short question.
Well, I appreciate the detailistic answers, because I have a lot of people who are actually, I have someone that just commented. Before I get to their comment, I want to express why I am so invested in your foundation. You're not wrong when you say there is not a lot out there for surviving family members, or for the relatives, the siblings, more importantly. And it's something that I think it's overshadowed often, where yes, cancer destroys whole families, and we already have organizations that take care of the individual and the parents. But your foundation is the first one that I found that it focuses on, in my layman terms, it helps foster the future, because you're taking care of the siblings who are left and have. And you're 100% right. I know so many family members and friends who were devastated financially from any form of cancer. So something like this is such a boon to our society, and I just want to commend you and thank you for doing something like this, because I can only imagine all these kids who've lost their older brother, older sister, and just now, what about me now? And it just becomes just sad, and it's nice to see this little ray of sunshine in such a dark area of a young person's life. I have a user here, Wall Skittles, and again, Wall Skittles, thank you for the follow, who mentioned, I have a folder that my loved ones know about labeled Soups Important, Living Proxy, and Will. Wills can be daunting because and he put it in quotes, need a lawyer, but they're really not. Perhaps Nancy can elaborate.
As far as writing a will, it is always a good idea to have a lawyer to do a will. However, you can go online. There is, let's see, what is one of them? One that I've used. Oh, no, I'm not going to be able to think of it because I'm on the spot. I'll tell you who my best friend is for questions like this is Google. And what you should do is find a format in your state, because this is a state-by-state thing.
Mhm.
But at least do something. At least write it down somewhere, and then tell someone where it is. Ideally, get it notarized, so your signature is notarized. I'm definitely not going to give legal advice here, but you should. That's what it's called, LegalZoom. I'm not advocating for them. There's lots of other sites as well, but the one I've used is called LegalZoom. It's nothing to do with Zoom meetings that I know of. And usually lawyers will do them for a package price. The ones that I've done, they've always done all the documents all at once. But write it somewhere. Tell somebody something. That's a conversation, Jameson would never have had. He was 19, but we needed to know what he wanted done. And if we hadn't, we lived near a really beautiful cemetery, and we actually would never have known. He actually was claustrophobic, and he didn't want to be buried because of his claustrophobia. Nor would we have known that he wanted to donate his body. I mean, these were really important last wishes that we found out about. Not to mention the birth of the idea of what to do with his school funds. Wow. So I would reach out. I would at least do a little bit of research. At least write it down. Get your signature notarized and get it to somebody who can put it in a safe place.
I have a few parents on here also, and something that myself being a dad also, it's on us to be responsible for our kids, because our kids aren't always going to be forthright with whatever's going on with them. So it's okay.
They're not.
To just be a little. It's not being pushy. It's just being a concerned parent, and it's okay to just be like, "Hey, I'm here for you. What's going on?" And that's
It's not just okay. It's required. It's one of your responsibilities as a parent.
Correct.
Yes. If you're going to teach your child, not to put her hand on a hot stove, and you're going to teach her not to rush out into the road, look both ways before you cross, and you're going to teach her how to not speed and how to not text and drive and how to make sure she's safe on a date, or that he is not doing foolish things just because, just if all the kids jumped off a cliff, will you jump off? We all had those conversations. You're going to teach your child all sorts of things so the child gets along in the world, so that he is a good citizen, so that he's safe and he's smart and he's contributing. And part of what you're teaching him is his body is important and his health is important. And if something, and this is what I've told guys, and I've told classes, I've taught high school classes over and over and over, and at the Chamber of Commerce and at my Rotary Club, if Nancy raises her hand, we're talking balls at 7:00 in the morning, get over it, because we're going to do it. But I'll tell you, I've had so many people come and say, because of what you told me, I've talked to my kid. And I said, good, go do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. What I tell parents is a great time to do this is when they're trapped in the car with you. Those car conversations where you can both look through the windshield, nobody has to look at each other, and they can't get out. That's a perfect time. There's my dog coming in. That's a perfect time to have these conversations. And you know what? If it's hard, I don't care. And if it's uncomfortable, I don't care. And if it's embarrassing, then you got to do it even 10 more times than you want to. If somebody had this conversation with Jameson, if we had known, and if he had known, he would be alive. He would have turned 31 on March 14th. We think that he'd be married, he'd probably have a kid or two, and he'd probably be teaching social studies in high school.
Wow.
Instead, he's gone. And he's gone before he got to do anything as an adult. So take it from me. It is worth your being embarrassed, being scared, the kid being mad. It's all worth it to not lose your kid. You don't want to be where we are. So go have the conversations. Figure out how to have them. If you can't, and if you are a person who needs to have this conversation and your dad or your mom isn't the right person, then what I've told guys, and this is what I was going to say earlier. People who have heard my conversation, my talk, I say, listen, if you forget this whole thing, because I know you can't wait until I get out of here. What is this middle-aged woman talking to me about my balls for? I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to look at you. I don't want to remember this. I don't want to even have this day in my life. I'm like, I don't care. If you forget everything I just told you, here's what I want you to remember. If your testicles change, you are going to know it because you guys know what they're like. You know what they're like on a day-to-day basis. You know what they feel like. You know what they look like. You wash them, I hope, at least occasionally. If you have had a change, you know. Don't tell me you don't know it, because you know it. So here's the takeaway. Don't wait. That's the takeaway. And if your mom or dad's not the right person, tell your scout troop leader, tell your college counselor, tell your girlfriend, your boyfriend, tell your kids. If you're a dad, tell somebody you trust, and tell someone who's going to say, you're taking your behind to the doctor. Yes, you are. Yeah, no, not tomorrow, today.
It's
Don't
something
just keep it to yourself.
A few of my users are in so much agreement. I have Linslov who says, I'm sure suck it up culture for men makes it so much worse, to which
Yes.
Bat Angel goes, agree, toxic masculinity stops us from getting help. And a lighter note, one of my moderators and my best friend, Beefy Esquire, goes, to have hope, Nancy, because after vaccinations are done, you can throw a testy festy, a party to celebrate.
Testy festy, I like that. Oh, I gotta write that down.
Testy festy.
Testy festy.
And
well, there is a testicle festival, which actually I believe is no longer. It's about bull testicles, which apparently you fry and eat, which I can't really think about. But testy festy. Thank you to your reader for that.
And then
yeah, I mean we don't know what's going to happen, but COVID has changed everything for everyone, including the fact that I'm working full time now. I was working only on this before. Then I was self-employed. All my self-employment dried up like it did with COVID. So sometimes you can't go back. But I plan on certainly I'm not going to stop educating about testicles. I can't go to schools in the middle of the day anymore because now I work for the state. And I educated at the 5K, educated at the ball crawl. You know, I still educate certainly on a one-to-one basis. And when I'm invited to do things like this, then I can reach such a broader audience, such a blessing to be able to, each of you people are going to be like, oh, I heard the funniest thing. I mean, I just got promoted at work twice.
Congratulations.
Recently. And thank you. And in my interviews, they asked about leadership and educating and training, whatever I was applying for. And so I said to them, okay, so for the first time, you are about to hear the word testicle in a work interview, because that's what I've been doing. I've been educating about balls, nuts, let's see, all my terms, knackers. I have so many, chicken nuggets. There are about 25 different euphemisms for testicles. I use all of them. I've been doing this for 10 years. So I have been educating. I'm never going to stop talking about balls, whether anybody likes it or not.
Feel free to add huevos to your lexicon, which is Spanish.
Huevos. That's right. We do have cojones.
There you go. Cojones is I have to give you a warning on using cojones, because in certain Latin cultures, it's a little bit more aggressive. But I think in your area, you'll probably get the pass on it. Now, speaking of cojones.
Well, locally, it doesn't rhyme with anything, because the reason I use those euphemisms is I have things called nut notes. And those are little, there are signs I used to put along the route of the 5K, which provoke conversations, such as, don't be too chicken to check your nuggets. Don't be slackers, check your knackers. I actually stole that from the Brits. The Brits have a lot of really fun ones. Let's see. And now, of course, they're all out of my mind. I have about 14 or 20 of them. And what I would see on the course, or what I'd be told, is that parents and kids would see the sign, they would laugh, and their faces would turn to each other, and I'd be like, done. I just caused a conversation.
I
That's
have
what I'm
to
trying to do here. I'm trying to cause a conversation.
I have to ask, and because I would be remiss if I don't. Where is Mr. Scrody?
Oh, where is he here? Well, actually, let me go get one of them. I have one. Hold on.
All right. How are we doing, chat?
So I have two Mr. Scroties.
Mm-hmm.
This is one. This is the plush, cuddly, soft and squishy one, who I sometimes hold just for comfort when I'm giving a talk. So there is a company that makes body parts. It's called I Heart Guts, and they have uterus, they have ovaries, they have kidneys, they have lungs, they have everything. Really cute. So this is the cute Mr. Scrody. And then I have one that I don't have in front of me right now, which is a medical grade model of a scrotum. It's the size of a scrotum. They come in different colors. It's very squishy, and it has two masses in it. And it teaches you how to palpate, how to do a self check, how hard you have to do it to be able to actually feel um, a tumor.
Would you
And
be so
what they
kind as
feel
to
it
kind of
feels
like
like.
show off?
Go
Like,
ahead.
I was kind of hoping you had the other Mr. Scrody. I don't know if there's a way for you to show on camera. How would you teach someone?
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I could do it on this one. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see if I can. Let me stand up just so my angle is better. So what you do, and I have. Oh, actually, let me show pictures first, and then I'll give you a demo.
Okay.
So in my
Real quick before you show
trifold,
off
I
any
have
pictures,
these
I need to
sets.
put a.
Yes,
Uh,
and if you would tell your listeners, anybody who wants these, if you are a teacher, I have thousands of these, and I would be happy to mail them anywhere in the country. Please just have them send you their. I also could email them, or I can post them, whatever you like. So I want to get these out. So please tell your readers and listeners to get the contact information to you and then to me, and I will send these out.
I've been
Here,
posting family the website every
good.
so often so people can see it. Real quick before we continue, I have to say for TOS reasoning, the pictures I'm showing right now are for educational purposes. They're not meant for sexual content or sexual enjoyment. This is for strictly for educational purposes only. This is not meant to be taken out of context. Continue, Nancy. Sorry, I have to do that to
That's right.
cover my butt for the stream.
Okay, that is fine. And I will say this also. When I was at the 5K, as I told you, I always talk to the women, the girls, the partners, any sort of sexual romantic partner of any of the guys there or the people there with testicles. And I would say, so I'm talking to you as well, because while you're down there, meaning while the sexual partner is down there, hey, give them a squeeze, give them a check, take a look at them, and they would all laugh. But then they would remember, and then they would do it. And like I said, half of the cases are discovered not by the guy himself, but by the partner. So yes, but no, this is I guess you can make anything into a romantic game between partners, right? But no, that's not what this is. This is how to do a self-check. So here's the pictures. Here, let me tip this correctly. So I can't read it backwards, so I'm going to turn it around and read it to myself, and then I'll show you again. So first of all, of course, those of you who have testicles know that if you're cold, I didn't know this. I grew up with sisters. I didn't know anything about testicles until I met Jameson. When you're cold, your testicles suck up into your body. So your scrotum is empty. Not a good time to check them. So a really good time to check them is after a warm bath or a shower, because everything's down in the sack where it's supposed to be, and that's where you can get them. So that's step one. Step two. So let's see, what do I have? So now I'll pick up Mr. Scrody, and I will pretend that this little thing here is a testicle. So you hold the testicle between your thumb and your fingers, and you just roll it gently. Just roll it. See how you're rolling it gently, kind of like here it is, like doing this. You're just rolling it, not so gently that you can't feel anything if there's a lump or a bump in there, but that's what you do. Just roll it gently between your fingers, use a slight pressure. And then, of course, what you want to do is familiarize yourself with this. You have a couple things in the back of your scrotum that are not lumps, but they're also not soft and squishy, like your testicle is with the scrotum is with the testicle in it. You have a thing called a spermatic cord, and you have a thing called an epididymis. They're long and ropey. They feel a little bit like
Oh, are you there?
like lumps or bumps, but they're not squishy. So just familiarize yourself with those harder structures so you have a heart attack. And then lastly, here's what you're feeling for. Lumps or bumps, change in size, or irregularities. And as I say here, it is normal for one to be slightly bigger than the other. It is not normal for one to be hugely bigger than the other. And it is not normal for the size to change dramatically. And you should do this once a month, not once a month. And the other thing you really want to do is, this is another thing that many people neglect, which is having a physical exam, medical exam. Once you're out of high school and it's not required for sports anymore, that's when guys especially stop going to the doctor. Girls maybe not as much because they've got birth control and they've got annual exams that are required to get birth control. Guys, they just don't go. Go. And when you go, make sure your physician or nurse practitioner or PA or MA does a testicle exam. If they don't do one, ask for one. If they refuse, find another healthcare professional. They don't do them routinely. They actually don't teach it routinely in medical school anymore. That's another whole conversation. I don't even want to start here. But when you go to see a medical professional, have one done. And then when the person says, yeah, they feel good. Are you having any problems? Are you having any pain? Are you having any swelling? You have any lumps or bumps? I don't feel anything. They feel good. Okay. So here's what you have now. You have a baseline. And then if something ever changes, you know, okay, this is how it was when the doc told me they were fine. I should go in. So know yourself, know your body, know what's normal, so that when it stops being normal, you don't wait a year and then you die when you're 20, when you didn't have to. And make sure that this story goes to your kids and their kids. If you're a grandfather or grandmother, tell your grandkids. Just tell them. As one thing I have in my pamphlet is, don't be embarrassed to death. One of my not notes. I have 2 that are serious. The rest are funny. The serious ones are, don't be embarrassed to death, and conversely, don't die of embarrassment. Jameson died of embarrassment. Period.
Nancy, this has been such.
What else you got?
I mean, I think we've covered every base we possibly could. I honestly was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to provide as many questions as I thought I would, and you've provided much more information than I thought I pretty much found a lot on my own. But I am so grateful that you decided to come on and share your personal experiences and share your story with us. And
I appreciate you asking. I'm always so appreciative when I have another opportunity to try to prevent somebody from dying unnecessarily. I don't know of anyone that I know that, based on what I've taught them, went to the doctor and got diagnosed early. I do know of people who, after my talk, several police officers, in fact, because I tell you, I train everywhere I go, who actually heard my talk, went to the doctor. One of them actually did need surgery. So they had been waiting until they heard this. So here's a way, if you guys are parents or grandparents and you've got an adolescent or a young adult person who needs to hear this and you think they won't listen to you, here's something that I made up, which I'm told is decently effective. When you're talking to somebody who doesn't want to hear this information, here's what you can do. Appeal to their own love of their fellow person, their own altruism, and say, look, I know this isn't going to happen to you and you don't care and this is embarrassing and you'd rather talk about anything but this. But I'll tell you what, when you go to track practice or you go shoot hoops with your friends or you go gaming and you're in a chat room or wherever you guys all hang out and you talk about, like this lady with gray hair was talking about my balls, and you say what I said, and one of them says, oh crap, I gotta go to the doctor, you may have just saved somebody's life. So even if you don't want to hear it, you may tell somebody that really could use the information. And that's a way for people to give the information to somebody that doesn't really want it, but cause them to listen enough that not only are they going to pass it on to their friends because it's funny and scary, but they're also going to retain it themselves, and that may save their own life. So whatever way you can get it across, whatever way you can get someone to listen, and that's why I use humor. What do young guys like? They like hangover movies and farting at the dinner table, and oh my God, the stuff that I learned having a young boy as a child. He was my stepchild, so I didn't get him from the beginning. I didn't get him till he was 11. But yeah, it's a whole different dinner table conversation when you're used to growing up around girls. Okay, what can I say? That's true.
It's like one of my users just said, I lol at your expense. Thanks for getting on tonight, buddy. He goes, at its core, it's awareness.
Yes, but they won't be aware if you can't get them to listen. And what I learned from Jameson and his dry sense of humor and his being a young male, an awkward kid when he was 11, I learned what that what got through to him was what was funny. And so you can't approach a kid and say, "Oh my God, you might die. I need to tell you something right now." That's not how you do it. What you do is you lead with humor. And that's why this is called Mr. Scrody. That's why I've got knackers and slackers and nuggets and balls and nuts and everything having to do with nuts. People are constantly sending me pictures of nuts and things that have to do with nuts because it's funny. And if they're laughing, then they're listening. So you gotta gauge your audience just like you are. You've got to gauge your audience and figure out what they're going to be able to hear, and then tell them. That's
So
why I do this.
earlier you mentioned that you were having a hard time with any live events because of COVID. It's another reason why I wanted to reach out to you and have this meeting and interview with you, because I have been giving an opportunity to have a platform in which I can just be selfish about it, or I can stand for something. And as I mentioned in the beginning of my stream, we're gonna play a game here when we're done. It's a game I haven't really touched with, and it's a game that I played with my dear friend Connor before he passed away. And as I mentioned, to anything donated tonight in my chat is going straight to the Family Jewels Foundation. For every win, I am pledging $3. For every loss, $1. So chat, you don't want me to lose. You want to cheer me on, all right? Because that's more of my money from my pocket going straight to the Family Jewels Foundation. I
wonderful.
do not
We appreciate that.
I do not mind that at all, because at the end of the day, I 100% stand behind what you're doing. I 100% support the message you have. When I learned how many young people are just so afraid to share, it's funny because we live in a society where, as Bat Angel mentioned earlier, it's the whole toxic masculinity. You have to be a tough guy. You have to be strong, because showing weakness is weak, and that's not alpha. So I am much more of a proponent of breaking down stigmas and just moving forward in society, because this is something that I feel that after learning about it, there's not a lot of people talking about it. Lola Your Expense says, I think savings big part is letting people, well, you gotta save your, hey buddy, you gotta fix your typing there. Savings big part of your body is okay to explore their bodies. There is such taboo about talking about bodies.
Right.
Sharing. He's trying to say sharing about your body is more important. And he's right. It's like you said it yourself, Nancy. We're very, very conservative about our bodies, and we don't want to talk about it. Yet behind closed doors, people become very, very sexual. Nancy, I pretty much run out. You've said it all tonight, and I would love for this to be if we can do this again at a future point. I'd love to do this, make this a recurring thing, because
I'd love to.
I 100% support what you're doing. I don't care if all I do is lose tonight. I promise you're winning tonight. I'm pledging that regardless. Chat, if you don't donate to me, I keep sharing the link on my chat. So guys, please go check out. Whoa, Bad Angel, thank you so much. And there's your first donation of the night. So
what's that? I can't see the chat. So
I know.
I don't know
I'm
what
sorry. Bad Angel just donated $10, and
thank you. You've got my website on there. It's easy to find, easy to remember. It's just family-jewels.org. JEWELS, family-jewels.org.
Guys,
if you Google us, you'll find us.
Family Jewels, guys. That is so tongue-in-cheek. Come on, guys. That's so easy to remember.
So, well, there's like 25 different euphemisms for testicles, and we were originally called the Jameson Jones Memorial 5K. Really long, hard to spell, hard to remember. So one day we sat down and thought, okay, we need to change the name of this run. We looked at all the euphemisms for testicles, and we decided Family Jewels was the least. It was funny. It's cheeky, like we are. Really, the least offensive. Balls isn't going to do it. Nuts isn't going to do it. Just because what we have to do is we have to reach the people we need to reach without offending their mom. That's the knife edge that I walk. And we thought that, and I'll tell you what, we lost a sponsor once when they found out the name of our 5K was the Family Jewels 5K. They pulled out a bank sponsor.
Wow.
I was irate. I felt like somebody had said my child didn't matter. Like, seriously, you who are community based and helping families are more embarrassed about the name of my 5K than you're worried about young guys dying. I never got over that. I'm still mad about it. But there you go. There's the embarrassment that they were more worried about their corporate image than being able to help guys not die. So I found another bank, which is way better and better sponsors. So there you go. But yes, we're easy to find. Family Jewels. Family Jewels Foundation.
I think my chat loves you and your euphemisms.
Good. Well, the other thing is this. There's two sets of family jewels that I'm worried about here.
Mm-hmm.
There's the physical bodily ones that we've been talking about since I came on.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the other part, which is the family's finances, the crown jewels, the family jewels of the finances, the riches of the family.
Mm-hmm.
The financial riches of a family are decimated when they have a sick child. I can attest to that. For at least, I only mentioned one of the reasons that my scholar's mother quit her job because her child's dying. So yeah, she's going to quit her job. She's going to spend every second with him. So there goes the family's income. There goes any college for any other kids. There goes earnings that could have been used for, who knows, all sorts of things, vacations, groceries. So your family's jewels, not just your son's cojones, but your family's jewels are decimated by cancer at all. And Jameson was a person who loved to learn. That was his own phrase. He loved to learn. He loved school. He loved learning and knowing and was curious and quizzical. And he hated the fact that his sister's college was jeopardized by his cancer. And so we are trying to prevent that in other families. And so far we have. And we plan to continue to as long as I can pound the ground and find some money. We're going to be providing these scholarships to kids who've had a sibling with cancer.
Well, Nancy, I think that about wraps it up. I can see chat is eager to see. I see someone's already commenting like, "Oh, let's go." Yep, they're ready to see me win.
Hey,
Nancy,
play.
you're more than welcome to check out the stream at twitch.tv/Romeo Bronx 1. But again, Nancy, I would look forward to doing this again with you. This was
Good.
a lot of fun. I don't care if we rehash the same conversation. You know what? You'll never lose me. Okay, I'll put it like that.
Thank you. Well,
Nancy,
next time I'll bring Mr. Scrody. I'll bring some nut notes. I got all sorts of props. This time I brought the squishy Mr. Scrody. I can bring here he is. He's very cute. The other squishy Mr. Scrody. I have props.
Guys, get to Family
believe.
Jewels. No, they really my chat really does love your nut puns.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Here's a challenge for me to throw out to your listeners.
What's that?
If somebody donates, let's see, what do we want to make it? I'll make you a trade. If the donations that you get from your audience total at least, let's say $200,
Mm-hmm.
then the next time I appear on your show, I will appear in a full-size, person-size penis and testicles costume, which I have walked down the middle of Main Street in to promote my foundation. So you want to see somebody in a testicle costume? $200. What it's going to cost you.
All right, so let me just for TOS services.
Speechless. Now see, I made him speechless.
Yeah, you no. Everyone is losing their minds right now. So
Okay, good.
for TOS services,
I have 2 of them.
I'm not promoting. Okay, I have to say this carefully because
Yes, I understand.
I cannot tell people to give me money, but what I
Okay.
can do. So if you guys are really, 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 really interested in seeing Mrs. Nancy Bailey in a full getup, it's the link is right there at familyjewels.com. But if we make it here through donations,
Family-jewels.org.
excuse me,
not .com.
familyjewels.org. Yes,
Family-jewels.org.
I read it wrong. .org.
Okay, good.
Yeah, chat. Don't worry.
Second.
My chat is doing a better job of correcting me. They're already on.
They do that, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, check out her website. Check it out. Please consider. Don't donate just tonight either, or even that. Don't just educate yourselves tonight either. Take the information you guys learned tonight and share it. As a passing joke, passing story. I know a lot of you guys here and ladies are parents. Check your kids' nuts. Don't be weird about it. Nancy gave you guys some good tips on how to go about it. There's no reason why this conversation should be weird anyways. It's not weird. It's not taboo. It's about your family's future. It's about your child's future. Because I can't imagine what you went through with Jameson. Because even just me, just with Connor was only in my life digitally, and through time we got to know each other in real life through social media. But just finding out how he passed away, again, that 95%, it just stuck to me, you know. And he was an athlete also. He was getting ready to go to college also. I had no idea I had no idea he was a young guy when I first met him, because he was a big, deep voiced guy. So
Yeah, he was.
I didn't know how young I was until it was too late. I didn't know what was going on until it was too late, and it was just something. Yep, as lol at your expense goes. Why risk your child's life? Check their nuts.
Right.
Check their testes.
Here's
That's right,
another,
check the nuts.
Here's a poem I just remembered for those of you with young children. Again, remember I told you, if you have a child who's 3, okay, so you're in the bathtub and you're teaching them to clean, you're teaching them to wash, you're teaching them if something hurts, tell daddy so we can go to the doctor. So one of Jameson's close high school friends now has a child. You know, she's 31, 32 now. And this was not going to happen to her twice. She lost a very good friend in Jameson. And when she had a son, she was not going to lose another one. And so she taught Tristan, his name is, age appropriate, about this issue. So when he was 4, they came up with a poem. And here's the poem. So all of you with young children with testicles, girls aren't probably going to care about this poem. Here's the poem. And this is my 30-second lecture. No lumps, no bumps, no pain, the same. If a 4-year-old can learn that poem and repeat it and check himself while he's in the bathtub or wherever he is and show his mom that he knows how to do it, then so can you. And so can your kids.
Let me address it real quick about the donating thing. If anyone donates to thefamilyjewels.org, what I would like for you to do, Nancy, if you get any donations, because I'm giving my chat the option to either donate to me and I'll donate it there, or to donate it to you. If you get any donations, let me know, and whatever,
I'll be able to tell.
Exactly. So, because I'm gonna count my gameplay donations separately. You guys, if you guys donate to me directly, I will send it to her. If the total is $200, then we'll get a penis suit.
Yes, you will.
If you guys decide to donate straight to familyjewels.org, Nancy, I would like for you to tell me if you got any donations from tonight, and we'll add that total with the total from my donations from the stream, not my gameplay donation, and we'll see if that reaches $200. So it's really, you guys have 2 options of donating.
Right. And just so you know, when you go to the website, family-jewels.org, there's a donate button. It's in several different places. That will take you to a PayPal page.
Wait, hold on.
Our address is, if some of you still write checks, and I know some people still do write checks. We also have a physical address, and I can give you that, or I can give it to Romeo, and he can put it out to you, whatever you like. It's also on the website, so however you'd like to do it. But yes, I'll be able to see when the donation came in and anything that came in today.
I suggest you check it now, because I think one of my users, I don't know if he's trolling me, but he just said, all right, halfway to penis costume.
Really?
That's what he just said.
Well, I'll tell you what, I just got a notification from PayPal. I've gotten one. Let's see how much that was. I can tell you, I'm looking at we just got a $100 donation.
Nomads Play, the king.
Yep, from a person who I don't know whether I'm allowed to name this person, so I won't on air, but we just received a $100 donation.
I actually think, before he replies to me, Nomads Play, can't you share your name? Because he is also my sponsor for this stream. So that's
if he works for someone who matches donations, make sure you tell your employer that, so you can get another $100 that'll get sent to us. Thank you so much. You're halfway to a full-size penis costume.
Look at that, guys. Nomads Play just did half the work for you guys. Nancy, I'm gonna cut it here, because I can tell they're like, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. That's right, chat. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna get this. Nancy, thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.
This was a blast.
This was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Guys, thank you. But for real, this is something that really does matter to me a lot. This is something that I feel very passionate about, because, like, if there's anything I learned in my time in the medical service, when something tragic dies, when something tragic happens and someone dies or something preventable, I just always find myself at a point of like, why? Because some of these things are stuff that, with a little bit of education, with a little bit of insight and knowledge, we could have prevented something terrible from happening. I cannot imagine anyone's family being devastated for something like this because of embarrassment. And it's something that she touched on often, is the stigma of how we're just kind of like, oh, I don't want to talk about that because it's weird. Come on, it's 2021. Let's stop being worried about what other people think, and let's be a little bit more proactive with taking care of ourselves and each other. Thank you very much. Nomads, thank you for that. That was such a baller move on your part. You did not have to do that. I really appreciate that. Words cannot cover how I feel with that contribution from you. This does mean a lot to me. If there's anything you guys take away from this, is know that I feel very strongly about this because I do miss.
Justice! Right on, right on, right on!
No. Ladies and gentlemen,
her and celebratory flex. Celebratory flex. Can you hit people with your shield? No. But it would make sense if I could. I wouldn't argue it.
Justice! Right on, right on, right on!
I low at your expense. Thank you so much for the donation, buddy. I really appreciate it. There we go. There's a win. 3, 4, 5, 6. Catch me next time. Have your notifications on, and let's get this community growing. I plan to do more stuff like this because idealistically, I'm not doing it for me. I don't really care for the cloud or whatever, but I appreciate it, everyone. Thank you very much. You guys are great, and I have great friends and great family. So I got nothing else for you guys. Take care.